Hi. Okay, I'm gonna be very quick because I need to go out of the house soon. I am maybe 7 to 8 chapters into acomaf, A Court of Mist and Fury, and I'm regretting my words. This person's name, according to the pronunciation guide, is Rysand, but I think Rysand or Rysand sounds nicer, so I'm just gonna say Rysand, okay? And the short form I'll just say Rhys. The second book opens off with Feyre and Tamlin preparing for their wedding. So he proposed and she said yes, and then she's just tied up with all the wedding preparations, and then Tamlin is also doing like a lot of high lot things, like going to meetings and discussing things with his sentries and emissaries, but he doesn't let Feyre in on these things, and Feyre is just asked to be a dutiful bride, to plan the wedding and put on pretty dresses instead of the tunics that she wore in the first book, because she's now seen as like an icon to the rest, like the symbol of peace. So if she wears like tunics to prepare for fighting, then it sends a message. So she needs to wear her pretty dresses, which obviously Feyre doesn't like, but she's doing it for Tamlin. The book opens off into 3 months after the fall of Amarantha, and in those 3 months, Rysand hasn't come to extract his end of the bargain, which is 1 week every month for Feyre to be with him. Then it's only at the wedding when Feyre is going down the aisle and then she is panicking because she specifically asked for red roses not to be included, but red roses were included in the wedding, and it gave her like a PTSD traumatic reaction, and she was like, oh my god, I need to say no, like someone help me, someone save me. And Rysand heard it from their bond with the tattoo and everything, and he came to extract his end of the bargain and took her away to the night court. I need to go. Okay, I'm just gonna stop here. Okay, I'll come back. I'm back. It's been a long day outside, but I wanted to continue my thoughts for acomaf. So I am currently in the second part of the book, and so I left off when Rysand brought Feyre to the night court. The difference in the treatment of Rysand to Feyre and Tamlin to Feyre is very stark, which I think is purposefully done by the author. So in the spring court, Feyre is just meant to be like a dutiful bride and just like follow that path. She's not supposed to be involved in like matters of the war. She's just supposed to be a doll basically, which I'm like, oh my god, I didn't know Tamlin was this kind of person. But to Tamlin, it's like she sacrificed enough already, because at the end of Ekota she died, right, as a mortal, so she came back as a high fae. So he doesn't want to witness Feyre being in danger once again, so he's being like super protective of her and all the guards and everything, but it's not helping Feyre because Feyre is still recovering from PTSD from that whole nightmare when she is surrounded by guards and everything trying to protect her. To her, it's like she's being guarded, being treated as a prisoner again, just that the prison cell has now expanded to the spring court area. So she doesn't really like that, but the moment she goes over to the night court, Rysand doesn't restrict her at all. He doesn't have guards looking over her. He just has the 2 servants to help her, the same ones that were there in her time at Under the Mountain, the same ones here. So it's like familiar faces. They're just there to help her with her dressing and everything, but otherwise she's free to go wherever she wishes. And it's like, oh my goodness, the difference is so real. And I think also because like the nature of them, right, because Rysand, he has wings, so they don't really have like window panes or things like that. It's like open space. But I guess it also works out for Feyre because she feels like more free, and over there she actually gets to sleep better and eat comfortably also. So she goes back to a healthy weight after like 1 week, and then she goes back to the spring court, and then it just spirals again. So things were good for a while after she goes back, but then Tamlin treats her like a spy for the spring court. So he interrogates her on like everything that she witnessed and talked about with Rysand. Feyre willingly gives this information to him, even though I'm like, oh my god, like give her a moment to rest. Like you don't want her involved in the war, but then she's involved in this and you treat her like she's your spy. After she's done giving you the information, you make her like go back to her supposed role to just be guarded. I couldn't take it, okay? And he is also very against Feyre, the idea of her training, even though Rysand raised good points about how she went from mortal to high fae through the powers of the 7 High Lords. So some of their powers could have transferred over to her, such that it flows through her blood and her veins and everything, which is true, and she needs to learn how to control those powers. Even without this, it's also good for her to learn how to do self-defense. Let's say she really gets into danger, you can't always rely on Tamlin to come running at the first instance to protect her, you know? But he he's very against the idea. He just thinks that it's dangerous for other people to see her training, and it's also dangerous for other people to try and guess why she's training. If they kind of see that she has the power, then they might want to steal her away to have for their own, and even try to like breed with her such that the children will also have these kind of powers, which okay, sure, but she still needs to protect herself. And oh my god, okay, so in chapters 10 to 12, there was this instance where Feyre was like telling Tamlin her feelings, and then she told him that I am drowning. The love that you're giving me is drowning me, and he had a whole outburst. Okay, everything just shattered. The only way that she came out unscathed was that she unknowingly shielded herself from this danger, which revealed her powers to Tamlin. But also Tamlin was like, oh my god, what have I done? And then he's like, oh, I'm so sorry, like I didn't mean to do it. It was a moment of anger and things like that. And that has happened like a few times already. Like they get into arguments, then Tamlin will snap at her, but the outburst was the first time that she felt like she could have actually like been injured. And it just feels to me like an alcoholic trying to tell his children that, oh, I'm so sorry for hitting you when I was drunk. It was just a moment. It will never happen again, but it keeps happening, you know? And I'm like, stop. And it's like every time Ryzen comes back for Feyre to bring her back to the Night Court, he notices that she loses weight. Somehow Tamlin doesn't seem to notice. Maybe because he's been with her for like, you know how sometimes when you're together with someone for a while, you don't notice like drastic changes, but he seems to be the only one that cares that like she's recovering, instead of like Tamlin, who is just avoiding the issue that Feyre is facing. Like he's not trying to help her to get through it. He just thinks that, oh, I just put you in more protection, you'll be fine. Ryzen is the one who's actually trying to help her, you know, like he's teaching her how to read, teaching her how to build some mental blocks so that he can't get into her mind and things like that. So I jumped ship to support Feyre and Ryzen. Feyre has mentioned to Tamlin like multiple times that she wants to go with him every time he goes somewhere to the ward, the front lines, or like to deal with some things, and Tamlin always says, no, you should just stay at home. It's like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And then he's always like preoccupied somewhere, doesn't really put much effort into conversing with Feyre. He just only like goes to her when they need to like have sex, and it's like, oh my god. And then it's like the stark difference the moment when Feyre moves over to the Night Court. Ryzen would say, and I quote, she asked whether he has a lot of things to do. Like, don't you have a lot of things to do? Like, why are you here with me? He said, of course I do. I have so many things to deal with that I'm sometimes tempted to unleash my power across the world and wipe the board clean just to buy me some damned peace. But I always make time for you. Oh my god, and they're not even together yet. Stop. And the most like triggering part, right, was that when Tamlin rejected Feyre's plea to please bring her to wherever he's going, he created a shield so that she can't leave the house and then it triggered like a whole PTSD attack because it felt like she was back in a jail cell, which then Ryzen felt through their bond, and then he made up some way for her to go back to the Night Court, even though it's not like their 1 week of the month yet. And I was like, oh my god, oh my god. And then afterwards, Feyre was like saying the same thing to Ryzen, like, please take me with you to wherever you're going. And Ryzen has more to lose because technically Feyre is the enemy. But he, after had moments of hesitation and like getting verbal confirmation from her that she won't reveal whatever she sees to the Spring Court people, then he was like, okay, sure, I'll bring you. And he really brought her, like, oh my god. Afterwards, we slowly start to see members of his inner circle of the Night Court. So we see new characters like Amren, Morrigan, Asriel, and Cation. They're his people of his court, but they treat him kind of like an equal. They're more like friends, and it's really nice to see. Now where I'm at, they're like basically going like deep into each character's backstory of the inner circle, of how they met and everything like that. It feels like the author is deliberately trying to make us root for Ryzen instead of Tamlin now, because of all these things that are developing, and also because she's going so in-depth into each character of his inner circle as compared to like Lucian or Tamlin. Like Lucian, we know some past of his in Agotar, but Tamlin also like not really so much, you know, not as much as the level of detail we're going into for acomaf. And I'm like, okay, I see what you're doing. It also reminds me of Throne of Glass in that the main character goes through multiple lovers, but I think this one is just two. Yeah, so those are my thoughts so far, and I will update you as I keep going, but definitely on the Ryzen ship now. Yeah, I take back my words for the fact that I said I liked Tamlin's personality. No. No more. I didn't expect to come back so quickly, but oh my god. Basically, she had a nightmare, and then he woke up because of the bond, I guess, like that he can feel her having a nightmare. So then he was like, breathe. He was comforting her, and then she shoved him away to go heave in the toilet bowl, and he went to hold her hair while she vomited into the toilet bowl. and like stroke her back and everything. And then afterwards he was like telling her about his own nightmares, like, oh, I used to dream that instead of me under Araminta, it would be Cassian or Asriel, and you have to watch them as she tortured him. And then they were both like bonding or like commiserating over the fact that they went through that together. He had to do horrible things to make sure that they weren't in danger, and she had to do the same. Shook her back also, I think I mentioned already. Afterwards she fell asleep against the toilet bowl, and then she woke up back in bed, tucked in. Oh my god. And what did Tamlin do? He just kept sleeping. Oh my god, he just kept sleeping, guys. Yeah. It's been a few days and I'm back to update, and I got the book. Library copy. Yeah, so I've been reading this much. I'm almost done. But oh my god, okay, let me just collect my thoughts, okay? I don't even remember where the last bit that I updated was until. Okay, I think where I left you was when we first started to talk about and meet the different members of his inner circle of the Night Court. Did I talk about Velaris? I don't really remember, but basically he showed her Velaris, which is like a place where no one outside in Perithian knows about, because it's like a secret city where everyone is safe there. They weren't even like touched during Amaranta's rule, and they're just living peacefully there, and it's like a very secluded but also like comforting small town kind of vibe. Over there, Feyre starts to slowly heal from like her trauma from under the mountain, and also after spending time with Rysand and all the different members of his court. And also because the city is very peaceful, I would say, and Rysand is nothing like Tamlin in that he brings her along for like all the different work stuff that he goes for, because technically she agreed to work for him to help stop this war that's coming by King Hyben, who I saw on TikTok that was modeled after Trump, which is so funny. So in this book, they're just trying to... Oh my god, I need to go. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, so I left off by talking about how there was a war coming up because Amaranta was actually just a servant to King Hyben, and he just let her like rule over under the mountain. But then now that she's dead, King Hyben is also like up to no good. So basically it was uncovered that he's trying to resurrect Jurian, who is Jurian? What a great question. Jurian is this person who I think he dated Amaranta's sister, but then afterwards it was revealed that he only like used her for his own benefit. I think he's human, and then he just exploited her for information. In the previous war, after he exploited all the information from her, he crucifies her with ashwood, which is deadly to Fae, and then he cuts her into pieces, which he left for Amaranta to find. Which I'm like, why would you do that when you're up against a Fae woman? I don't understand. But okay, anyway, her wrath on Jurian was that she hunts him down, and then when she caught him, she tortures him, cuts off his finger, takes out his eye, and makes a necklace out of it. So the necklace is made out of the finger, and then his eye is made into a ring, and she just kept his consciousness there while she ruled over under the mountain. Then afterwards, when she was beaten, she was killed by Tamlin, the ring and necklace both disappeared, which we then find out that it's probably taken by King Hyben because he's trying to resurrect Jurian to help him destroy the wall between humans and fairies so that he can conquer the mortal lands. So the Aether disappeared also from the end of Ekota, which we then speculate that he's probably working for King Hyben, which we find out that he is. And then afterwards, so Rysand's court finds out about this, and then they are trying to stop King Hyben from succeeding. And the only way to do so is to recover this book that was split into two pieces. One half was kept in the Summer Court, and one half was kept in the mortal lands by the mortal queens. So there was this whole arc about them going to the Summer Court and spending time there, getting to know the Summer Court High Lord, who is called Tarquin. So Feyre was there as meant to be like a distraction to the High Lord of Summer, and he seemed to be able to fall in love with her as well. He treated her nicely. They both felt that they were easy to love like each other, easier to love as a friend also. And we find that the Summer Court High Lord seems to be a good person in that he was trying to recover like from what happened in the aftermath of the downfall of Amaranta also, because they're trying to recover from that. He's also trying to bring the Summer Court to greater heights, but not in like a bad way. He's ambitious, he has good plans for his people, but they were just meant to be enemies because they needed to steal the book from the Summer Court. And at one point, Feyre and Ryzen were like, should we just try to like ask them for the book? But then afterwards it was revealed that when they chanced upon the location and they were trying to sound out the Summer Court people, they were quite secretive about it, which proved that they wanted to keep it hidden for their own good or like for their own users, we don't know. But in the end they had to steal it and go back to the Night Court, of which afterwards they knew that they took the book. Not say that it was easy, but they took it in the end and they were now branded as like enemies, which is so sad because I feel like they would have been great as allies. But yeah, and then afterwards they got the half from the fairyland, which is Summer Court, so now they're trying to get the other half from the Mortal Queens, and from there they were trying to strike a deal with them, but the queens were like kind of dismissive and they were like, why should we help you? We also got to see Elaine and Nesta because they used their house as like a meeting point between the queens and Night Court people. We got to see Nessa and Cassian going head to head, which I feel like they're going to be a couple because they're like so at odds with each other, right? We find out that Elaine is getting married to this mortal that the family is super against fairies. Random pieces of information just coming at me. Yeah, so they are trying to get the other half of the book, basically. And then we find out that the book, the language is a language that only Amron knows because Amron is not of this world. That means the book is also not of this world. We also met this monster, this being called the Carver, who was locked up in prison, and it's like a strange feature that wherever you look, two people can be looking at the cover and not be looking at the same thing. He gave them the information about the book before they went to the Summer Court and everything, so it was just like, I feel like we'll see this cover come out again. But yeah, and then Feyre also has more powers now because she was made into an immortal by the power of all the 7 High Lords, so a bit of their power resides in her, so she has all their abilities. So all this while she's been trying to train with Rhys over the different abilities, for example, learning how to make use of the darkness, learning how to shapeshift, learning how to winnow. Winnow apparently is like an ability that all Fae can use, but she also doesn't know how to do that yet. Learning how to manipulate water, things like that, fire, wind, a shield, frost, all those kind of things. And apart from that, she's also been learning how to fight from Cassian and I think occasionally Asriel, but Asriel is quite busy being a spy master and all. He was like infiltrating the mortal realm and trying to find out how they can get the book. Yeah, so that's that. And throughout, we also see like Rhys and Feyre slowly getting closer together, and then we also got like dirty talk and also a lot of flirting and tension at slow burn. Maybe not slow burn because my friend was like, why are they suddenly like making dirty talk so quick? And also like, how come Feyre was so quick to go after Rhys? But I think to me it's okay, but actually the timeline felt a bit weird because I thought like a lot of time has passed, but actually at some point they were saying like, oh, 2 months have passed, and it didn't feel like 2 months. Like, we read so much of the book for it to only feel like 2 months. Her inner questioning, she also feels guilty, like, oh, like how come I'm falling for Rhys so short time after Tamlin? Oh, I'm a traitor, things like that. But then she will also be like, he's not the same person he used to be after going through what happened under the mountain, and I'm not the person that I used to be also. So like, we see all those inner turmoil. She also wrote a letter to Tamlin asking to break up and like saying that she left of her own accord and not to come find her, but then he flouted that anyway. She met Lucian like halfway through the story, and then she was like, never come back or I'll hunt you down, things like that. And I was like, oh, I'm so sad because I really liked Lucian's character, but now they're on opposite sides as well. She also got to go to the Court of Nightmares. Oh yeah, so just now I talked about Velaris, which is like this very beautiful city that nobody knows about, and Rhys is trying his best not to let anybody know about also. So he kept the Court of Nightmares as like a facade so that people see that and think this is what the Court of Nightmares, that's all to it. But then there's also Velaris. He's putting up a great facade, and then it's like only his inner circle knows about Velaris, and nobody knows who he is apart from his inner circle and now Feyre as well. So there's like so many facades to Rhys, but I also felt like it feels like the author is trying very hard for us to push us from Tamlin to Rhysand, because you see how like she's justifying that Tamlin is a different person now. He's not the kind person he was from the start of acomaf. And I feel like I've never heard about this, but in the second book we find out that Rhys is actually the most powerful High Lord, and like such a convenience that Feyre is now with the most powerful High Lord, right? Yeah, and it's like all those things. Like, I can see why Rhys is so much better than Tamlin, but it also kind of feels like, am I being manipulated by the author? You know what I'm saying? But I do like that Feyre is getting more powerful now, and I'm less frustrated with her than I was in acomaf. And I also feel like Rhys and Feyre are more of like the same kind of person now, in that they both went through trauma and they're both like experiencing nightmares and things like that, and they are both like communicating with each other about it and helping each other through those times. Like, Rhys was the first person who held her hair when she was vomiting into the toilet bowl and like comforting her and stroking her back, and I was like, why did no one do these things for her when she was in the spring court, you know? And he like brought her night clothes, warmed the bed for her, warmed the bath for her, warmed her clothes, warmed her food, paid her well, added her to like his list of people who can just use his builds, things like that. And he also flirts with her, which is like a good distraction for both of them. But I feel like it's like also a little bit tiring, because in the whole summer court she was the distraction, right? So we went from like Tamlin to Rhys and then now to Tarquin. Like, all the High Lords are like somehow enchanted with her, but she's just a human who turned into a fae, which like, what do they all see in her? I do like the bonds forming between her and Cassian, Asriel, Mor and Amren. It feels like their friend group is very close and tight-knit and nice. And the mountain with 3 stars, I feel like I've seen people with those tattoos, and now I know that where it comes from. Yeah, and then it sort of gets more like spicy also. Like, oh my god, from chapter 44 onwards, it's so cute. Oh my god, like, I love fluffy angst. I think I've mentioned it a few times in my other videos, but I love it when there's angst and then it's like they slowly like yearn for each other, and then they finally reconcile and get close again. I love it, I love it. And sometimes Rhys is so pure, like he flirts with Feyre all the time, but I think they both know that it's kind of like a bit of truth mixed into it, but it's also like playful banter. But then he also will get very insecure, like he thinks that maybe no one will want the real him, or no one sees the real him, or he's too powerful, he's like the most powerful High Lord, he's at the apex, things like that, or like he is so cruel to maintain this facade, like so many things. And then Feyre sees past all of that and he's like, oh my god, really? But they haven't really like confessed or anything yet. He always compliments her and calls her Feyre darling and kisses her brow, or like carries her, whispers things in her ear, like, oh my god. And then he's like shocked when she wants to dance with him, things like that, and he will dance with her all night long even if she steps on his toes. I really like the cute moments again, like how I said, for between Feyre and Tamlin. And we are also getting like a lot of comparisons between Rhys and Tamlin, even though like Rhys specifically asked, don't compare me to him. How the difference in treatment, like for example, she doesn't like to be left alone while the man goes off to do something, and we have similar situations wherein Feyre was like explain to both High Lords, like, I want to go with you because like, take me with you please, and then Tamlin will always be like, no, cannot, you stay in the house. But then Rhys will listen to her and then he will understand, and then he will bring her along. Also, there was a situation where she met Lucien. Rhys was saying that if she had taken his hand, Lucien's hand, he would have learned to live with it because that was her choice. And then she asked, what if he had grabbed me? And then he said, I would have torn apart the world to get you back. And then it's like, there are spicy things also, like, this room is too small for me to bed you, like, oh my god. I don't know if I mentioned this, but also another comparison is that Tamlin refused to let Feyre train to defend herself. But in comparison, in the Night Court, she's like training, she learned how to read through Rhysand, like everything that she knows is taught by him. And the best part is, like, we have Mor and Amren in Rhys's inner circle, and he's like, don't make the mistake of thinking that Cassian and Asriel are my second and third in command. It's actually Mor and Amren. Like, anyone who thinks otherwise is a fool. So hot. I really cannot tell stories, guys. I'm just giving you my thoughts as and when. And the reason why I wanted to come in and update, because I have heard things about chapter 55. I don't know what, but we are approaching there, so maybe I'll just film my reaction when I reach that chapter. But yeah, there's so many things that I wanted to share that it's just, I can see why people like this book a lot, but it's like, oh damn, it's really like a lot. Okay, I need to go. Sorry, this has been like a blubbering mess. Okay, goodbye. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. I just continue reading, right? And then we got to see the Suriel again. The Suriel revealed that the poison that I didn't even talk about this. Okay, so basically Reese was poisoned by 7 ash arrows that were stained with poison by King Hyben's soldiers, and then she managed to winnow both of them away, and she killed the soldiers that were guarding him. Removed the arrows so that his wounds could clot over, but the poison wasn't going away. So she set another trap for the Suriel, which we first met in Akota. The Suriel helped her, like answering her questions and all, because she saved the Suriel's life in Akota. Then also because the Suriel is in the trap now, but she was speculating that he willingly went into the trap. And then the Suriel was like, okay, you can cure him of the poison by using your blood, because she has like blood from the High Lord of the Dawn, which apparently has healing powers. Then she was asking how much. She said just a few mouthfuls. Then he said, if you wish to speed your mate's healing in addition to your blood, a pink flowered weed sprouts by the river, make him chew it. You see, I knew it. I knew that she was her mate. I knew it. I knew it. Okay, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. I also wanted to talk about how we also found out through this book about Rhys's and Morg's past. So Rhys was known to have killed Tamlin's family, but then we find out that he manipulated the truth because Tamlin and his fathers and his brothers first killed Rhys's mother and sister, and Rhys used to view Tamlin as a friend, but then he didn't stop that from happening. And Rhys even spared his life. So Tamlin is a bad guy, but it also feels like we're just being forced towards Rhys, you know? We also find out more about how it seems like Mor used to have a thing with Cassian just to get out of her dark past, because she was going to be sold to this Fae prince, and then she went to do the thing that would save her from that, which is to have sex with Cass, who is considered like a half-blood Illyrian. And they were like, oh my god, you are not virgin anymore. Her family took her back, tortured her, nailed a note to her stomach saying that she is the princess, the responsibility now, which the prince was like, I'm not gonna deal with this. Then Asriel and Rhys almost like wanted to burn the whole world down, but didn't. It feels like As likes Morgan because of like the way that he looks at her. And there was also a line about how Asriel would likely love Mor until he was a whisper of darkness between the stars. So romantic. And then one last thing I wanted to say is that I saw a lot of Akota series memes, and then they were talking about like the size of their and then they were saying that wingspan determines that, and apparently Asriel's wings are the largest. That's all I want to talk about. But you see, I knew the mate thing. I knew it. Oh my god, look at Cassian and Nesta. Damn, look at that. Wait, he knew from when Amarantha was killing her, when she was still human. So humans can be mates of fays. And then, yeah, so when, oh my god, when he saw her on that balcony, it snapped into place. It heightened the smell of the bond. Oh my god. Wait. So just now we just found out that the Golden Queen died after she sneakily passed them the other half of the book that they have. During the meeting with the Mortal Queens, Rhys revealed to them the presence of Bellaris. Immediately afterwards, the enemies invaded, led by the Ator, which was under King Hyben, right? So then Feyre unleashed her powers and she killed like quite a lot of people to defend the city, but it still wasn't enough, and the Golden Queen died. I thought that they would have some like alliance, but she died. And then afterwards they had this plan to sneakily enter King Hyben's castle and try to nullify the cauldron using the book, but then they fell into a trap. Jurian appeared, and then all their powers were like kept under control. They couldn't like winnow out, they couldn't use their powers. And then King Hyben appeared, and then he was like, now that I've done my part of the deal, you need to uphold your end. And Lucien and Tamlin were there. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, so he said that Tamlin worked with King Hyben so that Hyben hands Feyre over to Tamlin, and then Tamlin will let Hybern's forces enter Perithium through his territory and use it as a base as they remove the wall between the mortals and fairies. Oh my god. And then after she went home, she will then work for Hybern, and Jurian wanted High Lord of Night dead, and then to be able to do with his friends whatever he wanted to. And the king also added that he will break the bond between Rhys and Feyre. Oh my god. Dude, what is happening? The mortal queens are also working with Hybern. What? Oh my god. What is happening? Oh my god. Oh my god. And they brought Nesta and Elaine over also. Oh my god. Oh my god. Stop. Cassian's wings were shredded because of the magic from Hybern. Oh my god, his wings. Oh my god, is it Lucien will be with Elaine because he's like fighting to defend her now? Elaine has been turned into a fae, and then now it's Nesta's turn, and they're doing this to prove to the mortal queens that they can be turned into fae with like no consequences. You see, Lucien said to Elaine, "You are my mate." Oh my god. They broke the freaking mating bond. So she had the power to break all the wards, and then afterwards she was like putting on a show for Tamlin and Hybern, like acting as if Rhys forced her to get into a mating bond. So she was like, "Take me home, I don't want to stay here anymore, I just want to go home to Tamlin." And then she said to the king, "Break the bond." And then she was trying to like mentally tell Rhys to leave and take her sisters with them, but she couldn't say it. She was trying to say it, but there was like a wall between them. She couldn't feel him. Tamlin, he bought the act, and then he asked the king to do it, and then their freaking bond breaks. But I don't understand why it needs to happen like this. But okay, sure. Okay. Update, right? The bond can't be broken, the mating bond, but what the king broke was the bargain between them. The explanation is that she pretended to free herself so that to Tamlin, she said that she would go home only if the killing stopped and if they went free. Then now they're trying to fix Cassian's wings and find a healer for Asriel as well. Oh my god, okay, I get it. So she is now a spy. She's going into the house to take Hybern and all of them down with a direct line to Rhys. At first, like Amber was saying to like go back and get her, but then Rhys said no. So I think maybe they can still, I don't know how they're gonna do it. Maybe the bond is working now, I don't know. Stop! Wait, okay, he said she's my mate and my spy, and she's the High Lady of the Night Court. So if they had removed her other glove, they would have seen a second tattoo on her right arm, the twin to the other, inked last night when we crept out, found a priestess, and I saw her in as my High Lady, not consort, not wife. Feyre is High Lady of the Night God, my equal in every way. She would wear my crown, sit on the throne beside mine, never sidelined, never designated to breeding and parties and child rearing, my queen. Oh my god. And we think back to when at the start of this book, Tamlin was saying that there are no High Ladies. She was meant to be a consort. Oh my god. I'm at the last page. We found out that Iante betrayed Tamlin also by leading Feyre's sisters to Hybern. Oh, okay, she has a glamour on her other tattoo now. The book ends with, and so Tamlin unwittingly led the High Lady of the Night Court into the heart of his territory. Oh my god. Okay, debrief later. Debrief time. Okay, so I ran it through Core Power already, which is like a rating system developed by G. I decided to give this 4.25 stars, which I feel like might be kind of controversial because I gave the first book 4 stars and then a lot of people love this book. But the difference for me between this book and the other book is just 0.25. Don't know whether I want to lower my rating for ACOTA, but let me explain. This book is, wow, a lot of things happened. And I do like certain parts of it. Like, I think my favorite is actually not chapter 55. I think my favorite is chapter 44, like 44 onwards until 48. like those few chapters because it's like there's fluffy angst and I love fluffy angst. After they got all into all the mate thing, right, I started to get a little bit like tired of it because it's like all the pages are just my mate, where is my mate? And then Reese is just very overprotective, which is like a feral animal thing, feral, I don't know. So I was kind of tired of that. And then every time they were in the throes of passion with each other, I was just like, okay, I understand what's happening, but like it's not really doing it for me. I like the yearning and the tension before it, but then now that they actually get together, I'm like, yeah. But then maybe that's what the author knows we would feel also, because then they are not together now. They are like separated for the last official book in this series, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin. But yeah, and also it's very funny because my friend hates this book. She hates this series, but she's determined to finish it because she wants to give it like a bad rating and like hate it with passion. And for me, it's just like I acknowledge that there are like cute parts, but then there are also bad parts. So I don't think this will be like a favorite of any kind, but I guess it will be like a good-ish series because it really made me like keep reading and not wanting to like do anything else, which is something that I'll always like give the book props for, or like the author props for, because not all books make me feel like this. And again, it's like the characters are very conveniently being paired up with like Lucian and Elaine, Nesta and Cassian, I guess Mor and Asriel. Feyre is suddenly very powerful, right, in this series, and I guess it's good, but it's very convenient again. And then we see Tamlin being stupid again. Yeah, again, it's like the author is like very purposefully reasoning it such that it's very reasonable or like understandable why she would go from Tamlin to Rhysand or Rhysand. Oh my god, and I can't figure out what is the best way to pronounce his name despite the pronunciation guide. So there's like still bits of the plot convenience coming through, but I did like seeing Feyre become more like strong, and the plot would surprise me here and there occasionally, but then I would also predict certain parts. That's all I have to say for this debrief actually. The rest is just like, oh my god. Okay, wait, I don't know if I talked about it, but chapter 52 to 54, when Rhys was explaining to Feyre about when he first found out about their mating bond, I was like, okay, I really feel the earnestness and sincerity from him, and I'm like, this guy is whipped for Feyre, which I really like. Yeah, that's all I'm gonna say. Which is where I'll leave you for this video, and then we will move on to A Court of Wings and Ruin in the next video. So I hope you enjoy it, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Consider subscribing to my channel to see when the next video will be out in this book series. I hope you're having a great day or a great week wherever you're watching. Remember to stay hydrated, and I'll see you in my next video.